So guys, yesterday we covered the TWAB. It was a big one, pretty much going over everything that we had concerns with in terms of Eververse, customization, vanity items, the kind of things that really bring a lot of value to that RPG side of things, right? For the most part, I felt really good about yesterday's TWAB. But I actually want to take this time to pick apart something that Luke Smith said very nonchalantly, right? Is that a word? Nonchalantly? But the man pretty much said that they'll be creating new armor sets for the core playlist every single year. For Strikes, Gambit, Crucible, they'll have new geometry, new decals, shaders, etc. But he goes on to mention that there will be a new set for year 4, which is the year that we're going into, year 5, year 6, etc. That's big for a couple of reasons. Number one, all those 4chan leaks that have been saying Destiny 3's coming, it's in the works, it's gonna hit us next fall, baby. Well, obviously from the man himself, that's not the case, because they wouldn't be launching Destiny 3 and simultaneously updating Destiny 2. Now, this was pretty much Luke's way of completely crapping all over those leaks by saying that Destiny 2 will continue into year 6, aka 2022-23. Year 6 would technically be the fall of 2022, right? Yeah, kind of dyslexic, guys. Getting my years and stuff mixed up. But essentially, 23, ending the year of 23, going into that fall, that's when possibly Destiny 3 will be launching, which kind of brings into question some of these leaks, right? These 4chan leaks. I mean, it kind of makes sense because we know there is a big expansion being worked on. Hell, Luke Smith even went on Twitter and was flexing on people. The man himself is already talking up the fall expansion. Now, the 4chan leak pretty much went over what's going to happen this fall, all right? So just some spoilers, but not really spoilers because we don't know what's true. First up, we're supposed to be getting something called the Collapse, all right? Pyramids are coming. We know that's the case. Alongside the pyramid will be the Veil, which is a new alien race that's supposed to be extra creepy. There's also going to be some focus on darkness abilities, new darkness subclasses for each class respectively. There's going to be a lot of focus on Callus, Marsoff, Erismorn throughout the Collapse's storyline, yada, yada, yada. But essentially, it stated that it will be revealed 2 months out from now in June, so essentially next month. The storyline is intended to segue right into Destiny 3. This is where I start to kind of like discredit some of these leaks. Not saying we're not going to get the Veil, not saying we're not going to get pyramid ships. Those things are a little more apparent because we already see the things that are occurring right now in Season of the Worthy, going into Season of the Redacted. We know pyramid ships are right around the corner, so that's a given. Anybody could take a guess on that one. Darkness subclasses, that's a little more iffy. We've been asking for darkness-based subclasses now since Destiny 1. And I'm not necessarily well-versed in lore, but I would say anyone that is could easily make educated guesses on the upcoming fall expansion. But the fact that he says that we're going to segue right into Destiny 3, alluding to the possibility that we'll be looking at a Destiny 3 release next year, well, now that's been stumped by Luke Smith himself. Now, before we get too crazy with it, let's just talk about why this makes sense. Why Destiny 3 holding off to 2022-23 makes sense. First up, technically speaking, Bungie and Destiny is very much still an infant. I know this game has been around since 2014, but independently owned Bungie alongside Destiny has only been a thing for a year and a half. You can damn well believe that there was a mentality shift overall inside of Bungie whenever they finally went independent. Contractually, if they were still with Activision, we would probably be getting Destiny 3 this fall. I think technically speaking, if I remember correctly, we would have never gotten Rise of Iron. We would have actually gotten Destiny 2 and Rise of Iron launch. And actually last year, we would have gotten Destiny 3. And then 2 more years out from that, we would have got actually Destiny 4. So that's why the timelines are really skewed, because obviously Bungie has not stuck to that timeline, right? But that was the way Activision wanted to do things. They like to take something, they like to throw another number up on it to fluff those sales up year after year, okay? But just Luke Smith dropping that tiny bit of information, year 4, year 5, year 6, means that they're definitely taking the MMO live game approach with Destiny 2 for the long run, which has actually got us questioning, are they going to call it Destiny 2 for forever? And will the final Destiny game actually be called Destiny 3 or something else? Now, speaking of what else Bungie is working on, Christopher Barrett, this is also one of the other lead devs over at Bungie. This man is actually working on the game codename Matter. I have no idea what the hell this game is. Some people were saying, oh, this is just a mobile game, right? NetEase was the one that invested in this. Bungie got like somewhere around $100 million, which is a pretty substantial chunk, I gotta say, fellas. I know we throw around numbers around here, but 100 million, hot damn. But a lot of people were just speculating it was gonna be a mobile game because it was NetEase. And I don't think NetEase really has much dealings outside of mobile games. They're a Chinese-based internet technology company, and as far as I know, most of the games they have dealings with seems to be like your run-of-the-mill mobile game. But now that you've got Christopher Barrett working on this is a different story, all right? This is the man that did Rise of Iron. This is also the man that did Forsaken, okay? He's got a good track record. I also don't think it's just gonna be some cheap game. game. I think it's actually going to be a very legitimate game because they're speculating a release of this in 2025, 5 years from now, which is kind of interesting because say for instance Destiny 2 launches in 2023, say fall of 2023. That's going to be like the flagship Destiny game, the final iteration. This is Bungie pretty much saying thank you to our fans. This is Destiny universe. Everything you've asked for, all the RPG mechanics you can think of, all combined into one. And after this point, our live team will take over and we'll watch Destiny ride into the sunset. Give it a good 2 years to enjoy that sunset, and then bam, new game, new future, some game called Matter. Nobody really has any idea what the hell this game is, but I will say let's just pick up on what we've seen before, okay? Going from Halo to Destiny, what are some of the common denominators? A first-person shooter, that seems pretty given. Futuristic, that also seems a pretty given. So what I'm trying to get by this, don't expect Matter to be a card game. You know, I wouldn't jump out there and say, oh, Bungie's making a MOBA called Matter. I would definitely expect this game to still be a first-person shooter because that's an aspect that Bungie has nailed down for over 20-something years. I also definitely think that Bungie is just too sci-fi crazy. I don't think they're ever going to get away from it. So I definitely think it's going to have some sci-fi aspects in it. Maybe it'll kind of venture off into more of the fantasy aspects, maybe, which is kind of like what Bungie has done with Destiny, right? Destiny kind of went more toward fantasy, but I'd say in D2, it's gone more sci-fi. So with something like Matter, I honestly think that Bungie's either going to double up either on the fantasy side of things or double up on the sci-fi side of things. Who knows? Either way it goes, timeline-wise, from what Luke Smith said in the TWAB, that simple statement makes complete sense. Now, the other question that's been brought up, what if we just never have a Destiny 3? If you remember the Vidoc that we had a while back, Bungie actually had Year 7 put up on a whiteboard, which obviously stretches past this timeline, which is kind of crazy. So to be honest with you guys, we may never get a Destiny 3. Matter may be the game that drops in 2025, but Destiny 2 may be the final Destiny game, which is updates year after year. And there is some questions for those that do want a Destiny 3. Why? I mean, there's a lot of things I want Bungie to do in terms of what to add to the game, but think about how much we left behind from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. Now, a lot of people say we did that because we had to leave behind old consoles, but we already did that in Rise of Iron. We already left behind Xbox 360 and older generations. No, the reason why we had to have a Destiny 2 was we had to include PC in some way. That was the next big jump. I really don't see why they would need to make a Destiny 3 at this point, other than just marketing, right? And before you jump up and say, whoa, I want darkness subclasses, I want more RPG aspects, I do too. At the same time, I don't necessarily want to start completely over again. I think the aspects that you're thinking of are things that can be included right now in Destiny 2's life cycle. Everyone kind of gets this romanticized vision of a complete and total game when they think of a sequel, right? They want to see that from Destiny. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. I think if Destiny 3 was to release in 2023, I think it'll be pretty bare bones, almost on the same level that Destiny 2 was when it first launched. And fellas, you got to ask yourself, do you want to start over all over again? I mean, I don't necessarily like blowing up my vault and going after all the loot all over again. And I know a lot of people are like, whoa, we're getting sunsetting, right? Technically, we're already doing that. Not necessarily. Sunsetting is a thing, but it does not affect exotics. When we went from D1 to D2, all those beautiful exotics we had to say goodbye to. And sure, some of them have made their way back into Destiny 2, but there's still a ton of them that we have not seen and may not ever see. And if we were supposed to believe everything 4chan said, Dark Drinker would be back. Galahorn would be back. Raised Lighter would be back. Touch of Malice and every exotic pretty much in D1 would have already made its way back into the game. And I do think they will make their way back into the game at some point. But just to bring those things back, essentially just look at us and go, hey, time to blow up your vault. We're going to D3 now, baby. So personally, I like that D2 is going to be stretching out for the next 2-3 years, maybe even 4. I like that this may actually be the final Destiny game. And considering that Bungie is now able to act independently, to me, Destiny 2 is very much still an infant. So guys, that is our thoughts on it. My best educated guess, Destiny 2 will continue for the next 2-3 years, maybe even all the way to 2024, 2025, to then sunset the game and move into Matter. Now, I definitely think there's still going to be a portion of the studio working on Destiny, even after Matter launches. There's just too much that Bungie has done and too much Bungie will continue to do. Also, there's too many people that play this game. So when I say sunset it, I more or less mean I think they're going to go all out within the next 2-3 years and just fill it chock full of content. And sunsetting to me is like a way in which they'll progress the game in the storyline where narratively we'll have an actual ending to all of this, right? We'll actually see Light and Darkness face off and have have a clear winner, which is a big deal. You know, you do all these expansions and stuff, and all of a sudden, you leave the ending to be very ambiguous. People are going to be kind of pissed. I'm going to be pissed, you know? Pyramid ship shows up this coming up fall, and the Light and the Pyramid have some sort of fight, but you don't really know who wins. When it's all said and done, I'm going to be looking at the lore people, asking them, what the hell? I want a finite winner. It's either the light or the darkness. I don't care who. We just got to have an end to this thing. And who knows, man? Maybe this Matter game does have some connection to the Destiny universe. Wouldn't that be trippy as hell? I don't think it will, because when you think about it, Halo was about a 10-12 year game, right? Maybe even 14 years if you count the development time in the late 90s. Think about that timeline though. Destiny 1 launched in 2014. 10 years, 2024. And if you count the development time of D1, when did they start development? Was it 2010, technically speaking? 14 years, baby. So yeah, it could go either way. Bungie could for real sunset this game, do some final updates, but considering how big Destiny 2 actually is, considering how many people actually play this game, and also considering the background that like Luke Smith and some of those guys have, where they've played WoW and those other things, they want that long-term 20-year game, man. They want that. That's what they like. And I like it too, man. I like long-term games. And I truly believe in like 2030, we're going to see a game called Destiny Classic Remastered be launched. I know everybody thinks that's crazy, but I think it's going to happen. You're going to see Bungie come out and be like, yo, Destiny Classic, if you never played the original Destiny, or if you just want to go play some of the old missions way back in the day, shabam, here it is. So I know we're in speculation land right now. The main thing is that Destiny 2 has a very long life cycle in front of it, potentially all the way up to 2025, which is a hell of a long time from now. They are working on another game called Matter, but that's in Christopher Barrett's department, which by the way, if you know the life cycle of Destiny expansions, they normally stagger things. As in like Luke Smith worked on The Taken King. Christopher Barrett worked on Rise of Iron. Luke Smith worked on the launch of Destiny 2. Christopher Barrett worked on Forsaken. Luke Smith worked on Shadowkeep. You see where I'm going with this? They essentially split their studio in half and they hopscotch these expansions. Now this is also concerning because Luke Smith did Shadowkeep and also bam, now they're about to have to do another big expansion, and it's speculated that the expansion now coming this fall will be even bigger than Forsaken. It's crazy. Sounds like a lot of crunch on Bungie's end. At the same time though, I think them going independent, getting out from under Activision, I think you see a reinvigorated Bungie. They know the strokes that they're taking right now are long-term. Activision is very short-sighted when it comes to giving things value, right? They look at things quarter to quarter and that's it. How many sales did your game bring in? How much are we able to actually monetize your game? And that's the extent of it. Truly artistic people, guys, are not necessarily thinking about the masterpiece that they're going to be creating years down the road. They're looking at what they're making right now and they're treating the product that they are doing now as their masterpiece. And whatever way you feel about Bungie is actually comprised of a lot of people that take their art very seriously, which is why I think the fruits of their labor are not something we're able to recognize now, because again, Destiny 2 in their hands is still very much an infant. This fall will be the most important expansion in Destiny history. It's actually going to decide whether or not this game will survive or not all the way to 2025. Forsaken showed us what Bungie still has up their sleeves even after everything goes wrong. Shadowkeep showed us the direction that Bungie is trying to take the game, but on short notice. This fall expansion, to me, is going to truly reflect what an independent Bungie can do. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.